Welcome to Roots and Wings. Today's topic comes a lot from business owners, entrepreneurs. How do I hire my first salesperson? And I'm going to share with you David's insights. So, yeah, David, how do we go about?
It's funny because you're
we
bringing up.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead. We
No, no, it's
we we
okay.
always
It's
were
just
very
it's the beauty of
rigid at the
podcasting.
beginning of the conversation.
That's the beauty of the conversation, absolutely. And you know what? I'll tell you, Jennifer. And I'm sure you've seen this, right? Business owners want to grow their sales, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure in your conversations with them, they're like,
Sales comes before marketing, actually, for a lot of people.
absolutely, yeah, no, because they say, oh, I can't generate marketing if I don't have sales, and I tell them, well, you don't have sales without marketing. So they have to work together. But
Chicken and
that's a
egg.
conversation for another day. But
Yes.
when you have a business owner who says, you know, let's take example number one, business owner has been selling. And very often founders do that because they don't want to hire their first salesperson. They don't know how to hire their first salesperson. They're not sure.
Mhm.
And so they go out and they sell themselves. Now, if they're innate in sales, they're comfortable in it, this is not a difficult conversation. The
Mhm.
conversation is difficult when the business owner, their background is in accounting or finance or engineering or operations.
Mhm.
They're not sales driven. So
Mhm.
their perception of sales is often not very high and
No.
it's not very
Uh,
positive.
we get, most of the time and very negative images of
Very
salesperson.
negative.
And
100%.
I think
Used car salesman, right? That flashy jacket,
yeah,
selling you stuff that you don't need. And 100%.
that's a misconception about sales though.
A total misconception.
Yeah.
Where I tell business owners is very simple. The reason your salespeople fail is you didn't prepare them properly.
Mhm.
You did not give them the tools. Now,
Mhm.
imagine, Jennifer, you're a carpenter, and I tell you, go to someone's house and build a cabinet. And you walk in there with a hammer and a screwdriver,
Mhm.
but you have no nails, you have no screws, you have no tape measure, you have
Mhm.
no drill. I gave you two tools and said, go make it happen. And then I'd say you're incompetent for not building the cabinet.
Mhm.
That is what business owners have done to their salespeople. They
Mhm.
don't give them the tools. And I'm not talking about a CRM. I'm
Mhm.
talking about the infamous playbook. And
Yeah.
the playbook really comes down to this. And we talked about this in a previous podcast as well.
Mhm.
Can I clearly define the pain point that the customer I'm talking to, that I solve their problem? Do I understand it? The second thing is that I offer them the right solution.
Mhm.
The third thing is, can I define who my ideal customer profile is?
Mhm.
When you have those three in place,
Mhm.
now you've equipped your salesperson. Now,
Okay.
sure, objections are important and other things. I agree. But if you tell a salesperson, here's the proverbial yellow pages, go sell,
Mhm.
you haven't equipped them right. If
Mhm.
you didn't give them the stories,
Mhm.
success stories,
Mhm.
how are they going to do anything?
Mhm.
You need to equip your salesperson with all that information. And if
Mhm.
you don't do that, then
Mhm.
of course they're not going to succeed. And of course, then you'll look at a salesperson and said, hire a minimum wage kid and good luck to you.
Yeah. So you just point out is what I describe it as when, right? When you're ready to hire your first salesperson is when you're clear about your value proposition, right? And
Absolutely. Well, first thing is be clear.
mhm,
Absolutely.
mhm.
You know, but often, Jennifer, what business owners want is don't bother me, just go do it.
Yeah. Then they I see this as a defensive mechanism. Is they say you don't understand my business.
Right.
Do you get
Exactly.
that a lot? Like, think. you mentioned, they don't feel like they can hire their salesperson, or they don't feel like other people can do their job, is because you do not get all those, like you mentioned, elements in the playbook, so that you can pass it on to somebody else, who might have better closing deal skill set than you have, but you're not able to communicate that to the first person you hire. Is
Jennifer, the sad part of what you just said is the traditional is they don't have closing skills. You
mm,
can't close if you don't open right.
mm,
And there's this little line someone said, opening is the new closing. Because if you start the sales process smartly and effectively, the
mhm,
close is easy.
mhm,
The old days of always be closing, ask for the order, blah, blah, blah. The reason they say no is more often than not is you did not solve their problem.
mhm,
Well, how do I know what the problem is if I don't ask the first questions? How
mhm,
do I know what the problem is if I don't have the customer? And Jennifer, as a marketer, you understand that if I don't know who am I targeting with this and
mhm,
why I'm targeting with this, it's not
mhm,
going to go anywhere.
mhm,
And there are very, very few industries in which you could call anybody and everybody and they'd be a client.
mhm,
Even if you're in transport and logistics, sure, everybody needs transport,
mhm,
but they already have a carrier. Why
mhm,
am I changing from them to you? And
mhm,
if you put a salesperson on the phone and said, go make phone calls and blitz and go
mhm,
convince them that they should come over, well, why?
mhm,
What pain point does the customer have? And so often what I see is business owners look at sales as a nuisance, as an incompetence, and they blame the salesperson.
mhm,
If I were to tell you that, I've told, I spoke to a sales recruiter earlier today, and he said to me, he goes, David, I can't, introduce you to people because you don't have industry experience in there. And I
mhm,
said, that is the biggest garbage and cop out, because maybe I don't know industry X, but my experience in industry Y
mhm.
could be hugely impactful.
Yeah.
But you're narrow minded. You don't look at the reason you're telling me I'm not a good candidate
Mhm,
more often than not is because you don't have the tools to give me to be
mm,
successful. You
mm.
want me to build those tools.
Yeah.
And that is where business owners fail. So
Mm.
hiring a minimum wage salesperson or paying them only commission because I'm not going to take a risk on a salesperson.
Yeah, that's actually my next question, how do you structure the compensation? But I will let you finish,
Yeah,
your
no,
sentence
no,
now,
for
and
for
let's move
me,
to next questions.
yeah, for Jennifer, for me, I'm flabbergasted by the attitude that the 100% of the risk is on the salesperson.
Mm,
Why'd you start this business in the first place, Jennifer?
mhm,
Why are you in this business? You took a risk, and now you're telling a salesperson, you are going to be like an owner. You're going to take 100% of the risk, but you're not going to get any benefits out of it. Understand that. You're going to create your own benefits. I will benefit from you,
mhm,
but I'm not going to give you owner benefits. It's a wrong mindset.
mm.
If you make your salesperson part of your team, you'll be successful. But if you treat them as an outlier like that, you're almost guaranteed no success.
Mhm. Yeah, we just mentioned like when you can start to hire a salesperson is when you get clarity on your offering, right? Basically, what your value proposition is.
Right.
And the next question is, do I figure out my sales process first before I hire the salesperson, or do I hire a salesperson first, then figure out the sales process?
The
What
answer is,
what?
oh, the sales process is critical
Mm,
because what do you want them to do? And often what they're telling you is that we want the salespeople to do everything from lead gen to cold
Yeah,
calling to prospecting to presenting to closing to after
yeah.
service. Da.
Or like whatever works, right? So
Right.
let's put ourselves in the shoes of the business owner. Like I have a product, then I generated some revenue myself. Now I wanted to replicate. Then I just want this person to be exactly like me. Is
Well,
that a dream, or is that not a
it's excuse the expression, throwing something at a wall and hoping something sticks. If you are not clear on your sales cycle, and I did this with a client recently,
Mhm,
we walked through very painfully every step, and he tried to skip, and I went, no, 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 don't skip the step. I want to understand how you generate leads,
mm,
and then I want to ask you what do you do when you get that lead,
mm,
and then I want to know what you do, and we went step by step by step by step by step, and we found flaws in the steps because one, they wasn't handled efficiently, and two, he was the most overpaid person to do a menial task. And so what I said was, why are you doing this task when you have inside people who should be doing it?
mm,
And so if you don't go through and understand your sales process perfectly, your salesperson can't figure that out for you and should not be making the decisions on who should be handling what. Let's give an tangible example. If I'm
yeah.
a manufacturer and I go sell something, and I go to, and I have a friend of mine who's in food services, and I'll give you this is a more clear example. He'll go, he'll present, he'll close the deal, and he will need a quote for the deal because the prices fluctuate all the time.
Mm,
So he asks from his company for a quote. Now he could generate the quotes if he got the information. But they said, no, 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 we have an inside team that quotes. So then he has to wait for them, he has to present, he has to close, and then he has to make sure a purchase order gets in, and then the company has to ship. A lot of stuff, a lot of steps.
mhm,
You can't ask him to build that. You can't ask a salesperson to build that in an organization. And at one point I said to him, you're very overpaid to do some of these tasks.
mhm,
And he goes, yeah, they don't want to hire an assistant. They don't want to. And so reality is that you as the business owner know what you can afford and what you're willing to do,
mhm,
but you have to establish as part of your playbook those structure. And then the salesperson fits into that structure, not the
mhm,
other way around. Now
mhm,
you could, if you find a diamond in the rough, you could tweak it. You could say, okay, I found somebody, we'll modify it.
mhm.
But you can't ask a salesperson to make a strategic decision like that for the organization. It's insane. But
Okay,
that's
let me ask another question then.
sure.
What if, like me as a business owner, I did not know how to do it? Like, for instance, I have an idea. I set up this business, and this idea happened to solve my client's problem. Then, I've had success generating, revenue and close
Mhm.
deals. But then you know, f- like I don't know how to formally structure a sales process and give it to somebody else. So we're saying, I'm ready to hire another person. Then the next step is to get this process right before I hire, right? Not right. I think this process will we will iterate on this.
Correct.
So then what do I what, what do I do? What do I do?
Well, it's so funny because, first of all, it is not as complicated as it sounds. Take a piece of paper, take a whiteboard,
Yeah,
take your computer, whatever you
write it
use,
down, right? Yeah.
and write down from lead generate. How do you generate leads?
Mhm,
So, you know, is it coming from LinkedIn? Is it going to come from a trade show? Does it come from your website? Where? And
mhm,
then from there, it's like, so what do you do with it? Who handles? What do they do? Then the next step, prospecting. Who handles? What do they do?
mhm,
And you're
mhm.
constantly going through that steps.
Yeah.
What you said, which is critical, is it's an iterative process.
Mhm,
It's always evolving. And as you grow and as you scale, you will modify it. As technology continues to penetrate, it'll continue to improve. As
Mhm.
you grow with better people, you'll come up with better ideas. But
Mhm.
the essence of it is, I need a customer, I want to make a presentation, I need to quote, I need to deliver.
Mhm.
It it doesn't, that part doesn't change. It's the
Mhm.
details that are involved with all that
Mhm.
will change over time. So this isn't a complexity. It's actually critical for you as a business owner to
To
do that.
simplify this process.
Well, but here's the thing: is I'll tell you a very funny story. Um, I went into one of my clients and I asked him who's responsible for accounts receivable, and he looked at me and goes, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, if you have a customer who owes you money, who's chasing it?" So
Yeah.
he goes, "Well, of course it's accounting." I said, "Really? Only accounting?" He goes, "Only accounting." I said, "So you never get the salesperson involved?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "At a certain point, you're going to let the salesperson sell this client, knowing that they don't have credit."
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't think of that. That's why you have to implicate others in your organization as you build out this sales process to see where are the bottlenecks, when do you stop, who's involved, and so on and so forth. Find the most efficient way. So this is not just the business owner creating it, it's other members, key members of the organization.
Mhm.
So please do not, hire a salesperson. And I'm saying this until you get this down on paper. I didn't say get it
Mhm.
right, down on paper. Because when you
Yeah.
have your first salesperson, any good salesperson is going to ask you, "So what's your sales process?"
Yeah.
And you can't
We're not
answer.
looking for right or perfection here. Just get it, on paper so that you can communicate. And that will help you clear out your mind as well, right? Clarify
Thousand
what
percent,
you're doing. So
thousand
that, yeah,
percent.
because we need to operationalize the owner, at this point. So we need to, yeah, put
My
your
father-in-law had a great line. He used to go, "Perfection's in the next life."
Mhm.
And and he, by the way, was the greatest salesman I ever met.
Mhm.
And he didn't have a perfect system. In fact, it was flawed. It
Mm.
was so flawed often. And so all I'm saying is that when we have a process, and this is a man who took a business from zero
Mhm.
to $100 million. He went
Mhm.
bankrupt twice. Okay. He realized, okay. And when he hired me as a salesperson many, over 30 years ago,
Yeah.
um, and he sat me down and he said, "Let me tell you our story. Let me tell you who we taught." And he had in his head, and he knew exactly who we're going to, how we should talk to them,
Mhm.
what we're going to deliver, and what the client can expect. And the business had only been around for a handful of years. So it wasn't like, "Oh my God." And by the way, I stayed for 7 years. My message to my clients, the way we did business with clients,
Mhm.
evolved many times over those 7 years.
Mhm.
So it never changed. It never stays static.
Mhm.
So please don't hire a salesperson without equipping them with the right tools.
Yep.
But as a business owner, invest in your people. That's one of the ways to invest.
Okay. So, when you get clarity on your value proposition, and
Mhm.
after you have some process in place, then you're ready to hire the first salesperson. So let's talk about compensation structure. Um, as business owners, we always wanted to see results, right? So for me, to like manage my risk, I always wanted to go with the commission based. So, and I've seen different structures. Some structures you have base salary plus commission. Some are like 100% commission based. How do you structure that? Because, like, yeah, that's a question. Because
It's a big question, and I'll tell you something. I'm going to give you a third argument that you're not going to think about is I don't give a commission. I give a salary and a bonus. Now, here let me backtrack, okay?
okay,
Because it's a lead into, and my students, when I teach them at McGill this, they kind of look at me going, "Where the heck did that come from?" Any business that is 100% commission, run away. Please don't go there.
Okay.
The business owner has no value at the end of the day in.
I'm taking these notes down because
Yeah.
that person you hired like they don't have their stake, they don't put their skin on in the game, right?
Like,
Because
you're
people
asking.
care like you're exploiting them 100%
It's a
commission.
total exploitation because they're paying for their time, their gas, their cell phone, their computer, everything, and you're telling them, but you'll make 100% commission, whatever 100%. So 5%, 7%, 10%, blah blah blah, whatever the number is. And I look
Mhm.
at them and I go, that is outrageous.
Mhm.
Now, in certain circumstances, I've seen it work because the business is so well structured that the money is instantaneous.
Yeah.
But you are not there, people. Most of you are not there. You think you are, but you're not.
Hmm.
So now it's about giving people salary. And truth of the matter is, it's unfair to hire somebody and tell them you can't eat today. You can't pay for your gas today. You can't pay for your cell phone today. I
Hmm.
mean, would you do that to any other employee? Think about it.
Hmm.
There's no employee in the company that you're hiring today
Hmm.
that's doing that. You're
Yeah,
giving a
and
salary.
you can feed your family today.
So when you're telling a salesperson, "Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a right to eat today because I can't take the risk with you,"
Hmm.
the message that you're sending is, "I don't trust you."
Yeah.
And that, like, why? So if you're paying your bookkeeper, who, by the way, there's a risk with the bookkeeper that the bookkeeper could screw up the books.
Hmm.
There's a risk that somebody on the manufacturing line could destroy your product.
Hmm.
But it's the salesperson. Think of the mindset. Only the salesperson is the risky person. It's not. You
Hmm.
have to hire smartly, and if you hire smartly with the right playbook,
Hmm.
then you're going to succeed.
Hmm.
So yes, I believe personally in a salary. And again, salary is depending on where you are. The base salaries are very much, city, province, state driven. Commissions are based on the industry. I cannot tell you today this is the right commission, this is the wrong commission. But I want to tell you what I believe in commissions is scaled up commissions, meaning the more you sell, the higher the percentage of commission is. Now, people will think that's counterintuitive. I should lower my commission so that I don't overpay them. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I thought that's a practice. Like if the volume or what I meant is the dollar volume is higher, then the percentage is lower.
oh,
So
why would I do that?
mm,
Think about why would I do that? So you're telling me the more I sell, the less I'll make. Yeah, but if you sell more, you'll see. That message is, again, I don't want you to make too much money.
mm,
I did the reverse. And I did this in my practice, and my salespeople went ballistic when they saw it. The more they sold, the higher the percentage, the commission percentages.
mhm,
And they're like, what an idea. So when they surpassed a certain level, they got an extra 1% bonus
mhm,
retroactive to $1.
mhm,
They couldn't wait to do it because they
mhm,
got a nice check at the end. So
mhm,
mindset is, why not give them more? Now, I'm
mhm.
not saying bankrupt the company and
I think
there's
there are different practices in the marketplace and maybe different industries. So
sure.
this is when like yeah we can open to the audience and to give us some inputs and
What are
insights.
your comp packages? But I'll give you one last thing and we will wrap up this podcast.
Yeah.
Jennifer, one of the things that people complain about salespeople is that they're selfish. They're
Mm,
so driven by their own commissions. Well, you created that structure.
yeah.
You created a selfish structure by saying, if I sell and you deliver more of my sales, I'll
Mhm,
make more money.
mhm,
But if you take the mindset of sales plus bonus and tie it into the company, now you have a team player. Now you have a realty player who's
mm,
going to want to make sure that every part of the business is going to be better. Now the salary's a little bit higher, and then the bonus is, yeah, if you reach your sales goal, you get a piece. If your team gets their sales goal, you get a piece. And if the group does their objectives, you get a piece. And this is how you can encourage your sales people and to be part of the team. It's a bit out of the box, but do you want your salespeople to be part of your team, or do you want them to be on an island unto themselves.
Yeah.
So these are just kind of thought processes. And by the way, Jennifer, I'm happy to speak to anybody about compensation ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But folks, stop treating your salespeople like they're thieves.
Mm.
They're not thieves. They're the ones generating. They're the
Because
ones running.
if the trust is not, built at the beginning, like maybe you shouldn't hire that person. And if you
I,
hire this person and give it 100% trust,
I want to
otherwise,
tell you, yeah, I tell my students this:
Mhm.
salespeople are born gamblers. They
Mm.
believe in themselves that they could close the deal, that they themselves are risking a sure salary for commission.
Yeah,
And then you treat them like garbage, it ain't going to work. So invest in your people. You'll see the
yeah,
growth. And I'll
yeah,
be happy to talk to anybody about that.
yeah. That's so cool. So in summary, yeah, you need to get your value proposition done, like
Yep.
clarified. It's not done like 100%. As we said, these days, everything is iterative, and then have a process in place. So if you cannot hire, sometimes you need to reflect on yourself. You are not ready, and why are you not ready, right? and,
Well,
and
you're not ready
and it
because
might be
you're not
some
ready.
problem of the business that you need to look inside, not like blaming others. I think we all have our, I've seen this often. People have their defensive mechanism on. um, I see the symptom is you don't know my business.
Absolutely. No,
So that's a sign
yeah,
that really you need to look at yourself and yeah, think hard on this. And another word, business owners, yeah, you and me talk about that, is they almost think that's a dirty word, is strategy. But then
absolutely.
the thought process, what is your intent, right? And those things, the I would say direction, um, your hiring tactics depends on those directions or your intentions, or you clarify your intent. So that's actually strategy. So you need to spend time on thinking about this.
Absolutely. And just one last piece as we wrap this all up, folks, please. I mean, if you can go and answer those three questions:
Hmm.
customer pain point,
Yeah.
clear definition of your solution, your ideal customer profile. Now you've got the right stepping stones to look at hiring your first salesperson. Do
Hmm.
not hire
Hmm.
until you have those three in place and a
Those three
full
plus a
your sales
process.
process. Your sales process. And with that, Jennifer, let's wrap up today's Roots and
Yeah.
Wings.
Yes. Thank you. Thank
Folks,
you,
thanks so much.
David.
Thank you so much. Folks. If you want to know more, Jennifer and my information are in the description here
Yeah.
at Roots and Wings. You're more than welcome to reach out to us at any time. We'd love to share our knowledge with you. So we look forward to speaking to you at our next podcast. Stay well.